I, Mia, am a simple girl from a humble background. All my life my dream was to settle down with a good job and start a family with someone who loves me. Back then I never realized just how unlucky I could be. My dreams would be fulfilled, but just in part. I did have a very successful career in landscaping. I graduated college as a star performer and started my own business very soon. I did have some backup from my parents who did their best to support me. They weren't rich but still managed to help me out with my business. Soon with my skill, I began to make a name for myself. When my business was doing somewhat well, I met Tony through a dating site. He was very sweet and really funny. We clicked instantly, and I was in awe of his charisma. Sadly, I later realized that these two characteristics were all he had. Initially, we had a great relationship. He was working as an accountant and was earning decently. I even met his mum Flora, who was an amazing woman. We pretty much never fought, unless it was about money. In some way or the other, Tony always expected me to shell out more. He said,
"You know you should try spending a little more on us. You do earn a lot of money."
"Yes, I do make a decent living, but I'm not a millionaire, Tony. Plus I have to send money to my parents since they invested in my business."
"Why do you even do that? You are their only child, so it's not like their money will go to someone else."
"Why are you being so pushy about this, Tony? We are happy the way we are. What seems to be the problem?"
"Well, we can live a way better life with more money. Our living standards can be so high if you just contribute more. I don't send any money to my parents. You shouldn't either."
"That is ridiculous. What you do with your money is none of my business. Besides, we aren't married yet. When and if we do get married, I will think about it." It's not like I didn't want us to have a good life. I just felt that it was way too early to splurge. Besides, I needed to be at least engaged to him before I even thought of joining finances. Everyone I spoke to agreed with me. When I told Tony about everyone's reaction, he went quiet and didn't push the topic. However, our fights about money continued. In hindsight, I should have considered it a red flag. However, I was naive and didn't know any better. So when Tony proposed to me, I was over the moon. I said yes, and we began planning the wedding immediately. I always thought that now that we are engaged, we will have less trouble with our finances. However, things would get much worse. I was the one who ended up paying most of our wedding money. I wanted a simple wedding, but Tony said,
"We will only get married once, Mia. Why not splurge a little? It'll be worth it, you know."
"I don't know, Tony. It's a lot of money, actually. I don't think it's wise to spend so much on a single day."
"Don't be ridiculous, Mia. You can afford it, and I know that. This will be a big day, and I want only the best for us."
"All right, I will think about it." Well, I didn't get much of a chance to think about it. Tony was actually actively involved in the planning and always ended up selecting the more expensive options. Even his own mother, Flora, decided to talk some sense into him. She said, "Tony, don't you think you are hogging the wedding? It's Mia's day too and you are ignoring her input. That's not right."
"She's fine with it, Mum. She knows it's for the best. We can't have a cheap wedding like you and Dad did."
"There is nothing wrong with a cheap wedding, Tony. I think we are spending a little too much. It might get out of hand soon."
"She's right. What's more important is respecting and loving the person you are marrying." "Mum, please don't give me advice. If your own advice had worked well, Dad wouldn't have divorced you. You might be satisfied with cheap things, but I am not."
Flora burst into tears and excused herself. I was pretty mad on her behalf. I didn't know what had gotten into Tony. I calmed Flora and apologized for Tony's rudeness. I was getting very pissed off at my fiancé and decided to talk to him. However, he refused to admit his mistakes. We were extremely close to the wedding date and couldn't afford to postpone or cancel the wedding, so we went ahead with it. After our marriage, I was still hoping for things to improve. In the first year, we did have a great time together. Tony was super caring and loving towards me. I also had a great friend in Flora and regularly hung out together. Tony was still rude to her at times, but I scolded him and made him apologize. By the second year onwards, Tony changed completely. He started to spend a lot of money on luxury items and depleted our joint accounts. When we talked about the problem, he said,
Well, who cares if the money's gone? I've been telling you for ages that you need to put more money into our joint account.
We have a good life, Tony. There is no need for me to give more money. I already put in way more money than you do.
Yes, that's because you earn more. If you just stop sending your parents money and adding some more into our joint account, we will not run out of money. Fine, I'll send more money, but only if you promise to budget your expenses.
Tony had agreed with my condition at that time. However, as soon as I put in more money, he started to shop and splurge again. At the end of the month, I was taking money out of my personal savings to buy groceries. It was an intense and stressful situation. We were fighting every day, and nothing improved. One day, I sat him down and said, "Things cannot continue like this, Tony. I'm almost out of money from my personal account. I can't keep the family afloat like this.
Like I said, you need to stop spending money on your parents. That way we will have more money."
"And what happens when I do that? You will spend all of it as well. You have no self-control."
"If money is so tight, why don't you get a second job? That will make things a lot easier."
"You are kidding me right now. There is no way I'm taking another job because of your spending habits."
"Look, Mia, you either find a way to bring in more money or I will divorce you. This is my final decision."
I initially thought that he was bluffing, but I had no way to know. Even if he wasn't bluffing, there was no way I would do his bidding. By then, I knew I had enough with Tony's behaviour. This was not what I signed up for. My work life was also suffering due to the constant fighting at home. Even my friends were concerned about my state of mind. So this time, I didn't give in. I didn't care anymore. The next month, when I deposited my share of the money into our joint account, Tony blew his top. He started to curse me out. He said,
"What the hell, Mia? I clearly told you to send more money. This will only help us last 2 weeks at max."
"I've sent you more than enough, Tony. Maybe if you stop spending so much on gaming gear and fancy watches, we will finally have enough money to get groceries."
"Don't tell me how to spend my money."
"No, I am not telling you how to spend your money. I'm asking you to stop depleting our joint money."
"This is my money too, and I will do what I want. Since you refuse to listen to me anymore, I am going to divorce you. I have the papers prepared. Just sign them."
"Fine then. I'll sign them. I don't want to deal with you anymore." I was done with Tony. For a long time I knew this was coming. No amount of conversation was enough to make him change his ways. He even refused to attend marriage counselling and got a financial advisor. So the next day we got our lawyers and signed the divorce. By the end of the divorce, I was left with very little savings and got nothing in return. In my mind, I knew I needed revenge. In my quest for revenge, I had actually planned something. Recently, I got in touch with a girl from my college named Irina. She is super beautiful but had tons of financial problems. When she approached me trying to know about my divorce, I told her some stories about my ex-husband being rich. The conversation went, "Hey, Mia, how are you? I heard through a friend that you're about to get divorced." "Yes, Irina. We've signed the papers and we are waiting for the process to get completed. It was a good marriage, but what can we do?" "That is so sad. I'm sorry for you. I think I saw your ex in a posh nightclub a week ago. He must be loaded." "He is loaded. That was part of the reason why I married him. He really took good care of me. He left me because he wanted someone more beautiful." "Oh, that's bad. I guess he would have been happier with someone like me." "If he had someone like you, he would have splurged on her. I only got scraps, but he would treat her so much better. He had an expensive taste." That sounds interesting." She immediately had stars in her eyes and I knew my plan was working. After a few days, she told me that she had apparently gotten in touch with my ex and was talking to him. I congratulated her and actually encouraged her to take the chance. I knew Irina would take the bait and do exactly what I wanted her to do. She was selfish and a gold digger, so naturally the talk of money impressed her. It also didn't help that my ex stupidly told her that he had lots of money. I guess they are truly made for each other. My plan was slowly falling into place. About 3 weeks later, I heard through the grapevine that Tony had gotten married again. Apparently it was a lavish wedding, but didn't have a lot of guests. Even Flora didn't show up for some reason. In my head, I knew my plans of revenge were in action. From the description of the bride, I could tell my trap worked just fine. I was actually feeling very gleeful, and for the first time in a long time, I felt happy. I also knew that eventually I will meet Tony and throw in his face just how much of a dumbass he is. One fine morning, a short time after Tony got married, I had an unexpected meeting with Tony. We ran into each other when we were outside a local store. Tony looked shocked to see me. However, he quickly smirked and walked towards me in a smug way. He didn't know that I was waiting for this meeting for a while now. I said, "Hey, Tony, long time no see. I hope you're doing well."
"I'm doing pretty great, actually. Just so you know, I got married recently. It was a grand event. Of course, you wouldn't know because I didn't invite you."
"I'm glad you didn't. So she must be special since you married her so soon."
"She's my dream girl and much better than you. She's 10 times richer and way more beautiful. You are nothing compared to her."
"Wow, good for you, Tony. I wish you all happiness and peace. I hope she's worth your praises."
"Oh yes, she's worth it. You will know once you see her. Irina, darling, can you please come over?"
That's when his new wife, Irina, walked in. Well, I took one look at her and burst out laughing. My reaction was genuine, actually. After seeing his wife, I knew Tony was up for some surprise. I was actually not surprised at all. Tony was pretty confused by my reaction. He looked at me weird and said,
"Why the hell are you laughing, Mia? Have you gone insane because I got such a beautiful and rich girl?"
"Oh my God, this is so funny, Tony. You are hilarious. You really think she is rich? Well, let me just tell you then. I know her way better than you. I went to college with her."
"What? No, that's not possible.
"She went to an Ivy League college. You just got into a cheap college." "Oh, trust me, Tony. She's everything that your nightmares are made of. She is broke and went to the same college as me. She also has tons of credit card debt."
"That is bullshit. I know she is rich. Her parents live in a mansion and have multiple properties all over the country. I did my research, Mia. Stop lying to me."
"Well, her parents are rich, but they disowned her long back. Even they were sick and tired of her shit. Why don't you ask your new wife there? I'm sure she won't lie now."
"Irina, is that true? Tell me she is joking."
"Well, now that we are married, there's no reason for me to lie to you. Yes, I did go to college with Mia. I heard from Mia that you have lots of money, so I decided to marry you. I knew you could support me and pay my debts."
No, this cannot be true. You lied to me."
"I'm so happy for you. It's time you receive your just desserts. You know what? I think you guys are just perfect for each other. Too bad I won't be around to watch this shit show in person." I simply turned around and left. I knew Irina would be a great match for Tony, so I secretly kept telling Irina how rich my Tony was. This gave her the idea that she could use him to pay her own debts. Irina took the bait and successfully nabbed Tony. She is extremely beautiful and had no trouble convincing my loser ex to date her. He fell right into her trap, or my trap, as many would say. I knew she would destroy his life just like he did mine. Flora was the one who first reached out to me after the fiasco. She called me up and begged for forgiveness on behalf of Tony. She said,
"I am so sorry, Mia. Tony is an absolute idiot. I warned him against divorcing you, but he didn't listen. He's always ignored my advice and listened to his loser father."
"Flora, please don't apologize for Tony. You've always been good to me. It's not your fault your son turned out to be a horrible husband." "I don't know where I went wrong. Sometimes I can't even recognize him anymore. He told me that he has attached himself to a gold digger. I always had my suspicions about his new wife, so I didn't even attend the wedding. Well, Irina is just perfect for him. She's everything like Tony, actually. I'm sorry to say this, but your son deserves some karma." "I actually agree with you, Mia. I did my best, but it's time he faces the consequences of his actions and habits. Only then will he learn and understand the value of love." We talked for some time, after which I returned to work. Flora and I kept in contact almost every day. It was through her that I received updates on Tony and Irina. My plan turned out to be a hit. Irina made Tony spend lots of money on her. She always had a taste for luxury and couldn't be satisfied with what she had. This was part of the reason why she was in so much debt. All her spending habits were now Tony's problem. Tony delayed divorcing Irina, thinking he could convince her parents not to disown her. He was also hopeful that they would come around once they had a child. He was so obsessed with their money, and he got into more debt while trying to make Irina happy. Irina's parents, however, have no plans of changing their mind. Instead, they willed everything to their son, or Irina's brother. 2 years pass, and they're still together. Tony was miserable with her and even texted me from time to time. I never replied back. He once called me and said,
"Mia, I'm so sorry for hurting you. I didn't know how valuable you were to me. Irina doesn't love me at all."
"Well, you didn't marry her for love. You did it for her looks and her non-existent money."
"I know I made a mistake. I'm already suffering from it. Irina doesn't let me be at peace. She's constantly spending money and verbally lashes out when I tell her to stop. She won't even take up a part-time job."
"If you are unhappy, you can always leave."
"I can't divorce her because she will get half of what is left in my name. Mia, if I divorce her, will you take me back?"
"You have some nerve asking me this. I will never take you back, Tony. You deserve this life you have made. It's about time you get some payback."
"Please, Mia, just one chance. I will get better. This time things will be different."
I simply cut the call after that and blocked his number. I had no sympathy for him. I was already seeing someone else and had a pretty stable relationship. Plus, I had no intention of bringing back toxic people in my life. I was happy and satisfied with my new life. Tony and Irina divorced after her parents died. Any hope of inheritance quickly vanished when the will was read and everything was handed to Irina's brother. Tony was tired of Irina and divorced her. They fought an ugly legal battle and both lost a lot of money. Tony is currently miserable and almost became an alcoholic. Even Flora refuses to acknowledge him as her son. Tony had successfully destroyed his life while I created a new one. I am happy with my new boyfriend, and a proposal might just be around the corner. Flora and I are still friends, and she will get an invite to my wedding if and when it happens. Karma did its job, and now it is time for me to look towards the future.